Morning, everyone. Good to see you. My name's Ben, for those that you don't know, and I'm married to Bethany. I've got 3 fantastic kids, and I work for Saltmine Theatre Company, which B was referencing there. I'm one of the co-artistic directors. I'd love to start by breaking things up a bit and giving you a discussion question to talk to the person next to you. What makes us stand out as Christians? Or if you're not a Christian, what makes Christians stand out for you? So talk to the person next to you, people around you, and I'll have some answers. Maybe B might be able to go around on the mic. You've got about a few minutes. What makes us stand out? Okay, you probably haven't had a chance to hear from everybody, but hopefully you've had some good answers. So a bit of space. I wonder about hands up. We've made it a bit class, haven't we, today? But yeah, anyone want to share maybe what you offered or maybe what the person next to you offered and you thought it was quite a good idea, so you can speak for them. Hands up. What makes us stand out as Christians? Not putting our hands up is obviously one of them as well. But come on, volunteer. Yeah, let's see. What makes us stand out? Who had a good answer? Thanks, Jeremy. Yeah, go for it. What makes us stand out?
It's quite superficial for me, but in the workplace that I work in, it is the language. You just know straight away.
Or absence of language, or yeah, good. Okay, good. Yeah. What else? What else makes us stand out? Yeah, great. Thanks.
Being different to everybody else in the world, and
Okay.
having God's personality shine through you.
Yeah, great. Shine. Yeah, good. Oh, good. You know what I'm talking about today. Good. What else? Yeah. Kindness. Fantastic. Yeah, what a good quality.
Overcoming evil by good.
Yeah, wow, great. Oh, need more of that. Yeah, great. What else makes us stand out? We'll just have a few more. Yeah. Integrity. Thanks. He's got a good loud voice. Yes, there. Anything else? Oh, yeah, that's it. Well, you just want to make her run around. What? One last. What? Pride and dignity. Oh, yeah, that's good. Okay, fantastic. Great. Thank you. Yeah, I want to talk about how we stand out and more than that, how we shine. About a month ago, I got to go to the Big Church Festival. Has anyone been to the Big Church Day Out, Big Church Festival? Heard of it? Yeah, some hands there. Brilliant. Yeah, it's a fantastic event where there's loads of Christian artists who come and sing and perform. And it's completely side part of it. But as one of the things they did is they offered a 5K run. And I'm actually training for the 3 Peaks Challenge. I know, I'll just drop that in there. And there was a 5K run, and I was like, okay, I should probably do this. I haven't really done much training. I haven't done running or fitness for a while, so I'll go and sign up to that. And the good thing about being an actor is you can kind of pretend to be a good runner for a while. So I turn up, and I've got the gear, and I'm like, yeah, I'm good to go. I'm talking to all the people. I'm like, yeah, what sort of time are you hoping to do it in? The thing is, it's 2 laps of the course around the festival site. And I'm like, okay, I can do this. I've done 5Ks. I've run the marathon previously, but not for a while. And so I start running, and I start off like, yeah, I'm going to ace this. And then I've done 1K, and I'm like, I think I might just do 1 lap. I'm not going to do the whole thing. And people are like running past me, and all I can think into my head is Danny Knight and how fantastic he is at running. And I'm like, I am not Danny Knight at all. And the thing is, I'm just running, and I'm like, I'm going to tap out. No one will know. No one will know. I'll just sidle off and be like, oh, I've got a phone call, or I need to have a drink or something. But I'm like, something in me just keeps me going, keeps me running. And do you know what the most galling thing is sometimes? I don't know if you've done a park run or a 5K. It's when kids Tiny kids are running past you. And you're like, I'm going the fastest I can. And they're just on an air. And they're so fast. But yeah, it was around about lap 2 that somehow I'd kept going. I kept running. I mean, this is 5K. I'm not talking loads. But there's this young guy, this teenager, who stopped running and he's walking. And I'm like, I run past him, and I'm an encourager. So I was like, I'm running past him, I'm like, go on, mate, you can do it. And so I hear him behind me. I've got to keep looking forwards because it's the only thing that's keeping me going. He starts running again. And I'm like, come on, this is good. Okay, at least I can just encourage him. And then we're keeping running, and we get down this hill bit. And I'm like on a high now. This guy started running. So I'm like, come on, runners, let's do this. We can do this. It's 5K I'm talking about. In this moment, going down the hill, this lad overtakes me, and I'm like, yes, mate, come on. And I'm like, that's all I've got. I can just encourage him to the end. I can't get to the end. And just at the bottom of this hill, there's a hill before the final stretch. And I'm like, I don't think I can make this up this. This woman starts running alongside me, and she says, should we make this hill together? And I'm like, oh, I didn't really want to. But I was like, okay, great. And I just have enough in me that she's running beside me, helping me get to the top. And then it just fuels me to the end so that I just sprint the last bit. And then I'm absolutely exhausted and can't do anything else for the day. But I get to the finish line and I finish it. And I think for me, why I wanted to share that story is there are people in your life that you need to keep running for, that you need to run alongside. I'm so challenged in this church by the call for discipleship. There is always somebody who you could be discipling, who you could be running alongside or running ahead of to cheer them on. Or maybe somebody you know has started walking and they're like, I can't run at the moment. But maybe you need to just run past them or catch up with them and go on, you can keep doing it. So they can finish even stronger than you are. And what I want to talk about today is about how we inspire people, how we shine so that other people know about this incredible God and Jesus. So I'm talking today from Philippians 2:12 to 16. So if you have your Bibles, you want to turn to it. It's all going to come up on the screen. Philippians 2:12 to 16. And it's fascinating because actually what Paul talks about us shining is actually a bit different than what we might expect. There's clues in the title. Do everything without grumbling. Interesting. Therefore, my dear friends, as you have always obeyed, not only in my presence, but now much more in my absence, because he's in prison, he's chained to a guard 24/7. Continue to work out your salvation with fear and trembling. For it is God who works in you to will and to act in order to fulfill his good purpose. Do everything without grumbling or arguing, so that you may become blameless and pure, children of God, without fault in a warped and crooked generation. Then you will shine among them like stars in the sky, as you hold firmly to the word of life. And then I will be able to boast on the day of Christ that I did not run or labor in vain. So we talked a little bit about what makes us shine, what makes us stand out as Christians. As part of Salt and Wine Theatre Company, being part of it, one of the stories that we got to tell, which I'm sure some of you may have seen, was the story of the founder of the YMCA, a man called George Williams. I'd never heard of him before. Somebody came up to me once on another show and said, have you ever heard about this guy? Amazing, incredible guy. I'm going to see if we can watch a trailer. You'll see some fantastic sideburns of mine. And it tells the story of this guy. In Victorian London, the working conditions were so bad that basically workers were disposable. They would die, the conditions were terrible, and they were being overworked. They would work long, long hours, and if they die, they would just bring in somebody else. They were the commodity. People were the commodity. And George, at one point, saw this, and he said, I have to do something about this. He was just one man, and he said, I have to do something about this. We'll see if we can get the video up now and just give you a taste of the story, and then I can tell you a bit more about the incredible man that he is. If it's not working, that's fine. They're going to just drag it across now, the wonderful tech team. Let's give it up for the tech team. Come on. I gave it to them very last minute. Here we go. Fantastic.
Work hard, Dad said. Work hard and good things will happen. And so I went to meet my destiny and make my fortune in the greatest city in England and the centre of the world. Piper's London!
Hey, what's your secret? It's no secret, it's conversion is all.
What's that then? The long hours, the daily grind.
I've battled all my life for the right to work. So don't tell me it's a prison or the root of misery. Work is a gift.
Yes it is, but it can also be a curse. If men won't go to the churches and chapels, or if the churches and chapels cease to feed our souls, there must be somewhere else.
So yeah, we got the amazing opportunity to film the show, actually, and yeah, it's this incredible man who is celebrated in this story, but he was an ordinary person who, with God, did something extraordinary. He said, I could see that there's a problem, that young men especially were dying and being replaced. He got together 12 young men in his organization, and he just started to pray for them. He just started to pray for them, and he provided Bible studies, and they provided some fitness things, and they just provided a space where they could look after the well-being of young people. It was 12 men in an upper room, they prayed. Now, today, it's the largest youth charity in the world with over 56 million members. God did something with this man. And the whole second half of the play is this reporter going, I don't understand how it grew so fast. And he's trying to tell her about all these different things about it's part of the Industrial Revolution and trains coming in. But ultimately, he says it was spread because there was a spiritual hunger for God. And he says it was God's hand on it, and this man shined. There's an excerpt from a book about him which says about him. Friends said he radiated joy and enthusiasm. He was convinced that the truth which had transformed his own life would answer the heartache of his times. Sensing that God was leading them, George and his friends chose a name for their tiny movement. 12 people, the Young Men's Christian Association. They could never have imagined the rays of light that would move out of that dorm room and shine into industrial London and then into the world. 56 years later, this dorm room prayer meeting had miraculously become a movement that was bursting across the globe. And there's a meeting, the YMCA leaders in St. Petersburg, and they're thinking about what do they call themselves. They wanted something to represent the mission and the heart. And they chose a single word, Mayak. Mayak is the Russian word for lighthouse. In the fiercest storm, a lighthouse provides a flash of hope. To a lost sailor, a lighthouse gives clear direction. In the darkest night, the light shines in the darkness, and the darkness cannot overcome it. And now there is more than 14,000 lighthouses bringing hope, direction, and light to the world. One man who shone for Jesus. You are individuals in the settings that you're in, and God has commissioned you to shine. But let's talk a little bit more about that. What makes us shine? Or actually, let's start off by talking about what doesn't make us shine. I talked about it a little bit. Grumbling and complaining. It's fascinating, isn't it? What is grumbling? To complain about someone or something in an annoyed way. I'm sure none of you do this. Arguing. To speak angrily to somebody. Telling a person that you disagree with them. My definition, it's a response to something difficult. A problem, a suffering, a situation. But it's a complaining, annoyed response that doesn't result in action. Can you see the difference? So I don't know what you complain or grumble about. I was thinking about it. I think I have very high expectations of food when I go out to eat at restaurants. Anyone else? And I think when it doesn't meet my expectations, I'm often like, why did I pay this amount for this food? It's terrible. So I have very high expectations. One thing I'm doing at the moment, I don't quite know why, but Bethany and I chose to take on a renovation. I'm sure you've heard different bits about it. One of the things that I decided to do, I needed to fix a tap. I just needed to replace a little flexi hose. I don't know, is there any good DIYers here? People who are, quite good at that? Some nods? Yeah, great. I need your help. And so I was fixing a tap, and I thought, I'll get my 3-year-old son, Zion, to help me. As you do. And so I've given him a random selection of my tools that he can just bash a bit of wood with. I've turned the water off because I need to change this bit of the tap. And it's kind of going well, and I've replaced this little flexi hose, and then it starts dripping. And I'm like, okay, that's the first problem. And then Zion, without me realizing, takes the little washers that I need and starts dropping them down the toilet, which is behind me. And I'm like, this is really helpful, not now, Zion. So I'm scooping these out and realizing I can't actually wash my hands because I've turned off the water to the sink that I'm trying to fix. And then I go downstairs, turn the water back on after isolating it, and we break the hand soap in the downstairs sink. And I'm just like at the end of myself. And I think the other day I went to Bethany, I just went, I'm not a renovator, I can't do it, I'm terrible at this, and I was just complaining about everything in the house. I don't know what it is for you that gets you to a point of complaining or arguing. What do you grumble about? And it's that kind of underlying noise, isn't it, of like something that's going on that's coming out as that grumbling. What were the Philippians grumbling about? In chapter 1, verse 29, it says, "For it has been granted to you on behalf of Christ," sounds lovely, "granted to you on behalf of Christ, not only to believe in him, but also to suffer for him." They had a very valid reason for grumbling. What do you grumble about, gossip about, moan about, complain about? Politically, socially, in church, about your family, at work? The worship band don't sing any songs I know or in a style I like. I just can't connect with God. Oh, I wish my sibling would stop being so selfish and thinking about their needs all the time. Oh, my boss has it in for me. They never listen. They ask too much. They're a slave driver. What sounds a bit like you? Annoyed, complaining. Do you have a problem? Could you be guilty of grumbling or arguing? Now, what I'm not talking about is not fighting against injustice or taking up the cause of the lost or forgotten or addressing wrong or ignoring problems. What Paul is challenging us about, and I'm challenging you about today, is what is our response to them? What is our response? What should our response be? It's in the passage. With fear and trembling, with humility as servants. Psalm 2 verse 11 says, "Serve the Lord with fear and celebrate his rule with trembling." I think fear and trembling can sound like a scary thing. It should be like, we can't grumble and argue, we should just be scared of God. That's not what it's saying. Fear and trembling. So there's a good, helpful translation there. It could be service and celebration. It's awe and worship. It's humility and thanksgiving. George Williams, in the story that I was sharing about the YMCA, he saw a problem, the dire working conditions. He could have grumbled and argued. There was a massive problem, and it felt impossible. But what he did was he said, I can sort it, and I can start with the people around me, the people in my workplace. And he did it always with humility, serving others. In fact, on the day that the YMCA was formed, in his diary, he doesn't even mention the fact that he set up this thing. It's a prayer asking God for more humility. It's an amazing man who changed the globe. Humility. And do you know what? It's not just about between us and God. It's also about us and people too, about community. This shining is all about relationships and community. In chapter 1, verse 5, it says, "In your relationships with one another, have the same mindset as Jesus Christ, who, being in the very nature God, did not consider equality with God as something to be grasped. But going on, it says, he humbled himself by becoming obedient to death, even death on a cross." So, how do we shine? We've talked a little bit about that. I looked into this. I was quite fascinated about stars themselves. How do they actually shine? What actually makes them shine? I was like, I'm going to go a bit sciencey on this. So, for those of you that are interested in that, a star is a huge glowing ball of hot gas Deep inside its core, hydrogen atoms smash together, forming helium and releasing huge amounts of energy that heats the gas. This is called nuclear fusion, and that is why a star shines. And then I found out there's kind of two nuclear processes that happen that seem quite similar but are actually very different. They're fission and fusion. And we can compare them, and I think it's really helpful for us thinking about fear and trembling and grumbling and arguing. So let's look. They're a bit similar, but they are also quite different. They produce energy from atoms, both of them, but fission splits a larger atom into two or smaller ones. Fusion joins two or more lighter atoms into a larger one. Fission produces energy and dangerous nuclear waste. Fusion produces energy and helium. This can be used in other ways. Fission creates 1,000,000 times more energy than fossil fuels like coal and natural gas, but fusion creates 3 to 4 times more energy than fission. So this is the parallel I'm talking about. Fission, aka grumbling and arguing, divides, splits things up, causes division, and it causes damage, and there's waste product left over when we grumble and we argue. Fusion, aka fear and trembling, unites and is so effective, 3 to 4 times more effective in being a light for God. Turn to the person next to you, ask them, how is your nuclear fusion going? Good. Get it stuck in your head. Great, because that is what should be going on inside us. Because I think it's like a bubble. Like when you have that thing that's going on that you have a problem with, it could be a big thing, a little thing. It has to come out in some way. It's not about repressing those things that we have problems or something that irritates us. But we can choose for it to come out in, oh, I'm just so fed up of that thing, that grumbling, that arguing, that just divides, there's waste product, it's not helpful. Or we can go, God, use me to be a change maker in this, or I'm going to bring a difference, or I'm going to speak out and say that's not good enough, and I'm going to do something about it. I'm going to be part of the change, which unifies, which produces something that can be used for God, and actually that is our core function in how we shine. Every second, Jesus was obedient to God and the cross. It was a choice. He was doing that thing, that nuclear fusion. He was doing that. The problems that he saw, the pain, the suffering, he was taking those things and he was converting them into shining. And that's what made him stand out. He was converting problems into shining. Now, that's not easy, is it? We're not Jesus. I've played Jesus, but I'm not him. But there is encouragement for us. And even Jesus says it, one of the lines I've said before, he says, the Son can do nothing by himself. The Son can do nothing by himself, but he only does what he sees the Father doing. And you'll be amazed, but he'll show me greater things than these. And do you know what? I sometimes think the thing that marks out Jesus the most is his relationship with the Father. Sometimes I think, he was Jesus. What would Jesus do? We can't be like him. He was God, wasn't he? But do you know what? He chose to lay all of that down. He said, I didn't consider equality with God as something to be grasped, but he laid it all down. So, being like us as a human, the thing that signifies him, marks him out, was his close relationship with God. We can have that too. Each one of us can have that relationship with God because of what Jesus has done on the cross. And he says, you're going to do greater things. He told the disciples, you're going to do greater things than I did. And he even said, the Son could do nothing by himself. The encouragement comes in verse 13. For it is God who works in you, to will and to act in order to fulfill his good purpose. That thing where Jesus was obedient, he can actually be obedient through you. It's God who works in you. So when you're thinking, I don't have the energy, I don't have the capacity to change that into shining, God can. God can. I was reading about Corrie ten Boom recently, And there's a moment where she suffered in the concentration camps during the Second World War, and she talked massively after surviving it about the power of forgiveness, and she did big talks. And she is at one time, she's doing this big talk in front of a big group of people, and she's talking about forgiveness and God being a light in the middle of it. And a Nazi officer actually stands up and he says, I was one of the officers in the concentration camp that you were in. And he says, can you forgive me? Can you forgive me? And it's like this incredible moment where she says, I could not forgive him. All I could do was put out my hand. And she says, in that moment where he shakes hands with her, God gave her the power to forgive him. God worked in her to shine and to forgive. It's that thing, isn't it, where we're like, I don't know what it is for you, where, like I said, it's not trivial, these problems, these suffering, these intense things that we have, where we go, I cannot. I can only stretch out my hand. And maybe that's for you. You can only just say, God, I need you. It's God who works in you to will and act in order to fulfill his good purpose. There's something else that's quite key for us in doing this. It's not just leaving it all up to God. Verse 16 says, hold firmly to the word of life. Like I said, I'm doing the 3 peaks. And one of the mountains I have climbed is Snowdon. Anyone else been up Snowdon? Yes, it's beautiful, isn't it? And one of the routes I went up, it was the guy who was leading us. We went up Crib Goch. Has anyone else been up that one? Yes, some of you. Fair play. It is this precipice ridge that I just remember like clinging onto the side of it, being like, if I let go, I'm going to die. Like, I'm just climbing this mountain and like edging myself along. It's like beautiful and terrifying at the same time. And I was just reminded of that as I was looking at this verse. Hold firmly to the word of life. Like, we should be. I'm so challenged. I am terrible at reading my Bible. And I don't say that as like a boast. I say that as like, I need your help. Like, we have to cling on to God's word. It's the thing that Jesus used against the devil. It was the word, wasn't it? It was knowing the word. We have to cling. We have to hold firmly to the word of life. That's also how we shine. We have to know it. If we suddenly had our Bibles taken away, we were locked up in prison, like, how much would you actually know? I'm just so challenged by that. So challenged. Hold firmly to the word of life. Cling on to it. Now, we know a bit about how we shine. I've given you some tips, hopefully. But why? Why do we shine? Why don't you talk to the person next to you? Last discussion question. Introverts will be pleased to know. Who inspires you? I've talked about a few people today, but who inspires you? Who shines, or who have you seen shine or read about who shines? Talk about somebody who inspires you and why. Go. Fantastic. Hopefully, again, you probably continue these conversations afterwards. we should be talking about these people that inspire us and why. These people that shine and want and cause us to want to shine as well. Why do we shine? Daniel 12 verse 3 says, "Those who are wise will shine like the brightness of the heavens, and those who lead many to righteousness like stars forever and ever." I want to talk about just a few people who really inspire me. There's something about stars, and it says the life cycle of a star spans billions of years. As a general rule, the more massive the star, the shorter its lifespan. And there's another way of saying it, the brightest stars burn the fastest, so we must love them while we can. About 3 years ago, I lost one of my best friends, a guy called Marcel White, who was an actor in Salt Mine Theatre Company. Here's him playing Jesus in the Passion Play. And many of you, might have known of him, met him. What an amazing guy. And he shone. I was asked to write a little bit of a tribute to him in one of our Salt Mine News, and I'm just going to read a tiny little bit about that. Marcel lived his life on fire, and you were drawn to the blaze to see what fueled the flame. It was Jesus. You wanted to see Marcel just so you could debate some theology or wrestle with some issue, which he always met with passion and never held any punches, but seasoned it all with grace. His joy was exuberant. His laugh made you feel like the funniest person in the world and made you work out what you needed to do to make it happen again. I saw him perform when he personally felt on top of the world and when he felt terrible, and always had this ability to give 150%. He was the real deal. I want to be more of a friend, man, dad, husband, actor, Christian that Marcel was. He is unforgettable. His legacy will live on, and in the midst of grieving, we will always celebrate his life. He was somebody who shone. We were reminded of a story the other day. We got the opportunity. Gareth Malone, the choir master, came and did a piece on Salt Mine about Britain's Easter story. And we're all like kind of in awe of this. We're like, Gareth, it's lovely to meet you. How lovely, brilliant. And we're just like a bit celeb focused. Do you know what, Marcel, it's like 2 seconds in and he's going, where's your faith, Gareth? What do you believe? Can I tell you about Jesus? And he was taking every opportunity in the most authentic, winning way to shine and to tell people about Jesus. Another two people I just want to just briefly say about. We were at a Christian holiday week in Spring Harvest, France, 2 weeks ago, and there's this incredible couple who had children themselves, but they also decided to adopt 2 girls who were heavily disabled, and they were told that these girls would live for a year. And they took it on, signed up for it, knowing that was part of their mission. The girls are now 16 and 18, and their lives live a better sermon than I could ever preach. They are the most gracious, beautiful people who serve and love these 2 girls who can't really communicate, can't do anything for themselves, and they just serve and love them. I don't know about you and who inspires you, and I think we all have to shine in our own way as well, don't we? God made us wonderfully unique. We have to shine in our own way. And I also just want to say, for anyone today who doesn't know God here or listening to this talk, if you don't know God, there is a wonderful invitation in the middle of this passage. And it basically, it offers you, I'm going to find it here. I think I've dropped it on, there it is. It's right in the middle. He offers you the opportunity to become children of God. I don't know if you feel like life is just a bit too overwhelming, and those problems, those things that you challenge with, you think, I can't actually, I don't have the capacity to keep going, or I'm missing something here. God invites you to become his child. He loves you, and he says, I'm going to help you shine. I want to shine with you. I want to shine through you. And he offers you a relationship that's everlasting. I just don't know if that's you. I'd love to talk to you at the end if that is you. But finally, what are stars used for? And I'm coming to a close here now. It's good because I didn't really time the sermon, so we haven't run into the England game, so that's good. What are stars used for? Why don't the worship band come back up while I just do this final thing? What are stars used for? Hope, navigation, stories. They're for the best of stories, aren't they? These luminous balls of gas helped ancient explorers navigate the seas and now help modern-day scientists to navigate the universe. We are those stars. Let us be stars that bring hope to the darkest places. Let's be stars that leave stories to stir hearts to Jesus. And let's be so bright that we point the way back to him. I'm going to pray and then I'm going to hand over to these guys. Yeah, God, thank you so much that you promise that you will shine through us. And we long for that. We long to shine for you, to shine like stars in the sky so that we will lead many to righteousness. We want people to look at us and see you and to ask us, what is different about you? What is that thing? And we want to just go, it's Jesus. Do you want to know him? And God, I thank you that you have placed all of us in different places, in different environments, in different situations for us to shine. We are called to be in those places. And so God, give us the fuel to convert the problems that we see in our own lives, in big ways, in little ways, into shining, into worship, into action, so that we might leave legacies behind that would lead many people to you. And God, I just pray for the inner workings of our hearts. The places where we feel like, I can't even move forward. I can't forgive. I can't praise God because of that thing. I can't move forwards. That you would help us as we just reach out our hands, or as we just submit to you, that you would fill us. That you would fill us with your Holy Spirit and give us the ability to shine. Yeah, we long more than everything to just shine for you and to show our love for you more. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.